Next on C-SPAN, oration from the floor of the UN on life in North Korea by award-winning novelist Soo-ki Kim.
Your Excellency, UN Secretary General, President of the General Assembly, delegates and illustrious guests. We gather here today not to pit one against another, to incite war, or to even hold tribunal. Instead, we gather here today to discuss the destitute conditions and gross neglect, the squalor the people are living in under one of the final remaining manipulative communist regimes left in existence today. Here, representing this nation today at the UN, is Mr. Sin-Sun Ho of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or commonly known as North Korea. North Korea is known as the Hermit Kingdom and is one of the most secretive countries in the world today. What we know about North Korea is what their leader, Kim Jong-un, and his predecessors, Kim Jong-il and Kim Il-sung, want us to know. Nothing more, nothing less. They tell us rosy lies about what life is like in their country, but we just can't buy it. Independent investigatory journalism is extremely hard to conduct in such a censored nation. But with nuclear proliferation on the rise and rumor of intense internal famine, enough is enough. We, as brothers and sisters on this planet, from nation to nation, continent to continent, we deserve the truth. And I got it for you, firsthand. As a child, I grew up in Seoul, South Korea. The earliest memories I had of living below the famous 38th parallel is the fear and the disdain I was indoctrinated with against our northern neighbors from a very young age. My mother always told me stories of how my grandmother was forced to flee the Korean People's Army during the Korean War. She carried my mother on her back as an infant, with her 4 brothers and sisters trailing behind. She fled in the dark of night with my mother strapped on her back. All of the villagers screaming, "The Reds are coming, the Reds are coming," over and over again. As they fled, they ran for days, trying to get to their father, who was on business in Busan, in the most southern tip of the Korean peninsula. But, nevertheless, they were lost in a sea of terror. Her oldest son, my mother's brother, my uncle, was dragged away into the north, where he was never seen or heard from again. My mother told me this story again and again, with a fairy tale-like eloquence, and it changed me. I never understood what it was like, sitting there looking up, listening to my mother. But that was when I was a child. Going back, I understand now. In 2002, I joined an evangelical Christian missionary group that was sending teachers into North Korea to teach English. I was lecturing at the Pyongyang University of Science and Technology, one of the most illustrious schools in the nation. While there, I experienced the horrors the native citizens experience on a daily basis at only a fraction of the normal potency. The students I taught there were of the elite variety, with parents having high-ranking jobs in the regime of Kim Jong-un. All of them were like automatons, always following their great leader's orders. They had absolutely no clue what was going on outside that demilitarized zone. They were like children, trapped in the bodies of 20-year-old men. They didn't have access to the internet like we do, but instead they had access to the intranet, which only contained sites predetermined and pre-screened by the regime. And there weren't many at that. They worked on computers as old as they were. As computer engineering students, they didn't understand that they were behind the time. They stubbornly said, "North Korea is the best. North Korea has the best of this, has the best of that, has the best technology." Because North Korea was the best at everything in their mind. They had no other choice but to believe this, because it was their only exposition to such language and typing by country, because there's no other influences other than North Korean in this country. They had had no outside references. They didn't know important world figures like Steve Jobs, a giant in their field of computer engineering. But still, they had this one influence that I always thought was interesting. They were all Michael Jordan fans. He was their only model from the outside world because the government let him be heard of because they didn't see him as a threat. What's he going to do? North Koreans love basketball. I don't get the fascination to this day. I sat there and I watched the kids shoot hoops all the time. I never got the fascination, but they all loved Michael Jordan. They were told the world around them was crumbling and North Korea was continually victorious. The regime lied to these people over and over again. So, students learned to lie. They lied easily, sloppily, and always. They weren't even good liars, but they were hardwired to spread lies of how great their nation was. A total lie. Everything I did in North Korea was censored. I couldn't call anyone, I couldn't Skype anyone, I couldn't write anyone, I couldn't even send emails without minders reading and cutting out information from the documents. The entire time, I secretly took notes and stored them on a hidden flash drive that I used when I wrote my memoir, Without You, There Is No Us, about my time living under the iron rule of Kim Jong-un. Although life inside the university may not seem that bad, the life on the outside was absolutely deplorable. The teachers and I at Pyongyang-based school were granted several field trips to see what kinds of places North Korea had to offer, their national monuments, and what they were really proud of as a whole. Whenever we traveled, we got to see the real North Korea, though. We saw forced labor at construction sites under strict orders from the supreme leader. Old, gaunt women lay on the sides of roads and crouched under bridges. Skeleton-like figures lined the roads, manned the farms, and manned the fields, all by force. These people were starving, yet they didn't care. All they cared about is serving their savior, Kim Jong-un. The teachers and I tried to help by sneaking these people food, but we cannot even do that without fear. For if we are caught, we will be forced to leave. Or worse yet, we just disappear. In North Korea, everyone is a spy. They're all taught to rat on each other at every whim, big or small. So, one lives in constant fear of being reported. To the counterparts. Counterparts were stationed at the university, and they were kind of an internal policing system, so if you broke a rule or a law, they make sure that you didn't see the light of day again until you understood what you did wrong. The fear, day and night, eats away at you. It ate away at me. It made me weak, frail. I lost weight. I was sleeping 14 hours a day. Just being there was exhausting. I too became a robot. I fell under the spell of the great leader. He stole me away into his cult of a country. I was broken down, and standing here today, I can honestly tell you that I can never be put back together the way I once was. So I ask you, Mr. Son Ho, how can you continue to deny that there are human rights abuses in your country? How can you tell me that there are no problems in your damned nation? That happiness is everywhere and intelligence is the only disease that affects your people? Tell me, how can you sit heavy in weight while your people are starving? They look like walking corpses, yet you're looking at me telling me there's enough food for everybody. Tell me how the smog doesn't hang low on the horizon of your one real city, or how your electricity actually stays on like everywhere else in the world. Tell me how there is no censorship when you could vanish off the face of the earth for simply thinking, speaking, or whispering of freedom. Just tell me, how can you ignore all of us? All of the people on this earth, just to please one man, your leader. Why do you let him rule your world and ruin ours? Tell me. Just tell me how that's fair. Thank you.